Hello and welcome back to the Lapdown podcast. And Alex, can I get a ha to my ye?
I will ha you all day, sir.
Yee me that ha up. What a great Grand Prix weekend we had. We had Sprinty McSprintface. We had a proper Grand Prix. We had people on podiums that we didn't think would be on podiums, and it was just good eating. There were trophies, there were drones, there were massive flags. Hamilton's got 1 million points in Formula One. Max is about to be a 5-time world champion. My name is Dan. I'm joined by Alex. If you're new here, subscribe, drop us a like on this video. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, X, Facebook, Bebo, MySpace, and every social media platform that's ever been invented.
All of them. Hello.
How are you, mate?
Busy weekend, wasn't it? Busy weekend. Plenty talking points.
I've got full and indigested with my Formula One consumption.
I've got a full page of notes of various things for us to get through because there was quite a lot to unpack from that Grand Prix, which I'm going to say from the top, quite a lot to unpack from a Grand Prix where when we come to do our banging ratings at the end of the year, don't think she's a high banger. It was the most slow of slow burns, where it felt a little bit sort of 2023-ish, where we saw Max like twice on the broadcast, and then we were just sort of looking for scraps that had been left in the bin around the back. But at least plenty things to discuss from it, though. It wasn't a bore fest. It just wasn't. I mean, the sprint set such a high bar that maybe we start with the sprint, because that set such a high bar for action that we didn't quite meet in the Grand Prix.
Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it is a fantastic place to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Occasionally. But we did. We had it, didn't we? And it came, and it happened immediately. Look, those that didn't see it, you'll have seen it by now. Oscar, Lando, Max, kerfuffling into turn one and Hulk, fannying about. And all of a sudden, there was a tyre disappearing down the hill out of turn one, and there was cars pointing the wrong way. There were front wings in the middle of the racetrack. There was Yuki Tsunoda bunny hopping over those front wings and some other cars. And Charles Leclerc kind of... that was a bit of a... Right, okay, we used a movie reference the other day. It didn't work. I'm going to try another one.
Well, no, I'll take it back. It did work for you, and you got shout-outs from multiple people at lapdownpod@gmail.com saying they understood your reference. So I will give you credit that it did work, just not with me.
The movie Cars.
I haven't.
Anyway, there's this scene. There's a load of cars crashing, and Lightning McQueen's kind of like jumping through all the crashing cars and jumping over them and all that other stuff. And I was basically going to say that Lightning McQueen or Charles Leclerc did a Lightning McQueen impression this time around. So, do you know what? I thought my movie knowledge was bad, and I feel like you've kind of taken that and run with it. But anyway,
film degree.
Look, the big talking point is that both McLarens didn't finish the Sprint Grand Prix. Now, why didn't they finish it? Well, they got a bit clumsy. Oscar hit the side of Lando, and Lando's wheels fell off, and then Oscar had to park up later around the lap because, well, I guess he broke his car. But
his suspension was in more pieces than it was meant to be.
What is your thought on Oscar Piastri assassinating Lando Norris at turn one to secure a World Drivers' Championship?
It was very much a no fault accident from everyone, I think, or it's an equal no fault accident. Hulk's gone a long way down. Like, he's gone deep into that because he's seen an opportunity, because he's seen, Lando and Oscar both run it a little bit deep. So he's thought, here we go, podium Hulk again. And then I think Oscar, the move that he made is an entirely valid way to handle turn one. And we saw that exact move multiple times on Sunday through the Grand Prix, where someone defends it or whatever, or they'll shoot down the inside, go a little bit deep, you switch back on them. That's fine. Except when there are 17 other cars coming through as well, because it's lap one, turn one. I don't think anyone expected Hulk to be there. Least of all, Oscar Piastri. It's just clumsy. It's just clumsy. I'm not even going to say it's not smart, because I don't think that's an overly aggressive move or anything by Oscar. It's not something audacious. it's probably a reflex move of you've gone in a bit deep, I'm going to switch back on you. And there arguably was a gap of sorts that he was trying to fill in. There's just a few other cars trying to fill the same gap in. It's another one of those, I think, where we saw the most catastrophic possible outcome of what could have also been a completely non-event. Like, it could have been a repeat of Singapore. If we'd have just happened to have sidewall to sidewall on tyre going in a straight line, there's probably a little bit of radio. Maybe they lose 1 or 2 positions. They both carry on down the road, and then we've got a load of papaya rules talk for the rest of the sprint. As it was, he caught him wrong and flicked him round. So I feel like we maybe give more credit to Lap 1 Turn 1 than a lot of people on this pod. We are the official pod of Lap 1 Turn 1. But it just felt like the most mega Lap 1 Turn 1 you'll see in a long time.
It was up there, wasn't it? It was rivaling whatever happened at Saudi either earlier this year or the year before that with their Lap 1 Turn 1 incident there.
Yeah.
Because they've got one of those funny little clusterfuck turns, haven't they, which doesn't really work. But the US Grand Prix in this track in particular is unique in a sense that there are 2 corners on it, both at the end of their DRS zones, where you've got an apex, but you've also got 27 other suitable apexes that you could actually take that corner in at the same time, which makes for some great opportunities in order to overtake people and undercut people and switcheroo people and set people up whichever way you want to go about it. In this instance in particular, I would imagine Oscar Piastri checked that left-hand mirror and saw Hülkenberg miles away and went, nah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But because of those 27 other ways in order to take these corners, actually being a long way away might not actually be as far away as what you might think it would be for what you would consider to be a normal, what is it, about 110-degree corner, isn't it, back on itself? Because you had 5 cars. You had Lando trying to go down the inside of Max whilst Oscar was trying to go down the inside of Norris. And then Hülkenberg ended up trying to go down the inside of Piastri because Alonso was trying to go down the inside of Hülkenberg. So you had 5 cars trying to go down the inside of one another.
It's a lot of blokes inside a lot of blokes, isn't it?
Exactly. These cars aren't skinny cars anymore. They are chunky, fat cars, and they don't really work that way. And it got a bit clumsy. They bumped into each other. It was probably, despite the fact that Max went on to win that Grand Prix and pick up another 8 points and chip off a few more off that kind of championship battle, which we'll talk about in a bit, it was probably the perfect outcome that both of them retired. Either both of them finish or both of them don't. Because if one of them had finished like second or even gone on to win that Grand Prix or sprint, picked up an extra 8 points, we'd have all been sat here on social media kind of going, he's done it on purpose, he's done this, can't believe he's taken him out, oh, they favoured him this, they've done that, they've turned his car off on purpose, oh, well, they did this because they fitted the front wing loosely and the front wing fell off because they did, and it all would have been bollocks. So the best thing that could have possibly have happened when the 2 of them made contact was the fact that both of them died.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it was, and also from their point of view, at least it was the sprint and not the main event that it happened.
Precisely.
And wonderful that we then got the cleanest coat on Lap 1 Turn 1 ever when we got round to the actual Grand Prix. They all sort of gave each other miles of room there. One last little thing on that, which was just a thought that I had while watching it, that we've seen it occasionally. God, F1 cars look funny when they do something they're not supposed to do. And I don't know why, but Oscar obviously got a little bit airball because he sort of got flicked up a little bit. But they just turn into these planks of wood. And I know it's because they're so deliberately rigid and stiff and all the rest of it. That's how they're designed to be. But it just means that as soon as they aren't all 4 wheels glued to the road, they look like the physics has failed in a game. Like, for some reason, there's just been a bug and the gravity has failed for a bit because they just don't seem to move in a way that feels natural because you're just so used to seeing them sort of like rolling through corners and stuff. It's just, it's weird. It's weird and I love it.
A little Easter egg for you.
It's a little Easter egg and I like it. Yeah. Where should we move on to? Because there's just so many different ways that we can go here because I think we're up to Grand Prix Sunday now. The meat of this, and there's a lot to unpack.
There is a lot to unpack. I'd like to ask you the first question with this Grand Prix Sundays. Have we seen the coolest F1 trophies of the 2025 season so far?
Oh, we're going to disagree on this, and I actually might cop a load of flack from this. I thought they looked super gimmicky. I concede that the fact that it's mirrored track layouts and that kind of makes it look like the Skullhead and whatever, fine, sweet. I don't know why. They just didn't. They felt really gimmicky to me. And I kind of see why people like them, but I was surprised at how universally loved they were.
I thought they were cool as balls. Honestly, if I could pick one trophy to have on my kind of background here somewhere, it would be that one. We spoke, I'm sure we spoke about this 12 months ago with regards to trophy chat, and we said we were quite critical of the fact that the trophies didn't actually have a representation of the Grand Prix of where they were coming from, because we'd had some like trophy in Holland and Robbie Williams had puked on it, and we had some other bits somewhere else that just didn't really make sense. And we said about Texas, and we said, well, it should have a cowboy hat, Stetsons, like with Smith & Wesson pistols and some Longhorns. And they've pretty much done exactly what we asked for 12 months ago. So clearly, Formula One, fans of the podcast, great to have you back, guys. Hope you're enjoying the show. I think it's great. I mean, it's truly identifiable that is a US Grand Prix trophy. At no point is Max in his 80s going to stumble around his trophy house, because it wouldn't just be a room, would
Trophy house.
And he's not going to need a little plaque on the bottom of it where someone's going to go, oh, Max, do you remember this one? Oh, yeah, you won this one. You won this one in Belgium in 1923. And he's going to go, oh, lovely. Yeah, splendid. Whereas this one, he's going to look at it straight away and he's going to go, Texas.
Yeah. And it is a very good point of we have called for trophies to be representative of the region. And I can't argue that's not the case here. And what I think it is for me, I gave the V-Carb livery an 8 out of 10, and you aggressively raised eyebrows at that because we both just said we didn't really like it. And it's exactly the same thing for me with the trophy. So I'm very happy to give it an 8 out of 10 for the fact that it is ticking the boxes that we wanted it to tick. But just something about it just didn't... I don't know. Something about it didn't feel right. But I can see it.
It wasn't polished. It wasn't shiny. It did look like something that someone had made from Scrap Heap Challenge a couple of years ago.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily think that alleviates any form of terribleness from the fact that Liam Lawson crashed in a pumpkin patch on his V-Carb Formula One car and created that design.
We've gone slightly off trophy chat here, but I actually think the V-Carb livery looked better on track than it did in all the promo
look worse
stuff.
in the renders, wouldn't it?
When you saw it side on through like turn 16 and stuff, I saw a lot more tortoiseshell sunnies than I'd seen in the renders, and it wasn't as bad anymore. Still didn't love it. Wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
There you go. We'll do a when we get to the end of the year, we'll do a banked list for the trophies. We'll go through.
Yeah.
We'll go
trophies,
we'll
liveries, races,
rank
helmets.
them 1 to 24. I've got so
drivers.
much ranking to do out of season.
A whole load of ranking.
So much
Quite
ranking.
a lot of things that rhymes with ranking.
Yep. I'm gonna save the main event for a little longer. We shan't get to maths chat because there's maths chat coming. But should we talk about the boys in red a little bit first, because I feel like we've let them go under the radar a little bit on the pod of late, because they have been a bit inconspicuous. I think they've not really sort of pushed themselves forward. I'd like to give a shout out to the Ferrari strategy team for once, and it's a positive shout out. And I don't think we've ever done a positive Ferrari strategy team shout out on the pod before, but you can't argue.
Need for one.
Well, they got it right. For the first time that I can remember, they've actually smashed it with an ambitiously rogue strategy, and I'm sure Charles Leclerc shat himself when everyone took the tyre blankets off and he's the only one with the red ones on. But you can't argue that it worked, and it also then influenced some other strategies, because I'm sure that McLaren had no intention of putting Lando onto a soft, they weren't thinking medium soft. There's no chance that was their original plan. So yeah, fair play, lads. Shout out. Well done. Whatever well done, lads, is in Italian.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder which plan that was. Was it plan A or plan B or plan C? Did they have to consult with Charles Leclerc in order to come up with this plan? Because that's sometimes what they do too. Look, it worked this weekend, and that's fantastic. And it's a bit like a lot of other sports, isn't it? You kind of need a good Ferrari team in order to have a good Formula One, if that makes sense. To have a Ferrari team kicking around in 8th, 9th and 10th place just doesn't work. It doesn't fill you with the same kind of fizz as what it does if they're kind of in and around the sharper end of things. they have set up strategies before, and they have certainly got things wrong. This one in particular relied entirely on Charles Leclerc getting in front of Lando Norris at turn 1. If he hadn't have done that, the strategy wouldn't have worked. So there definitely was a kind of, here you go, here's the tools that we're going to give you, and it was a big reliance on Charles to make that work. Otherwise, all that would have happened is they would have just held one another up. Yeah. And actually then we would have potentially been in conversations of, Mr. Ferrari, I'm quicker than Charles at the moment. Would you mind letting me through? And it's, maybe. And 5 laps later, and we go through all that stuff. So, look, good for Ferrari, good result, good pointage. And it's just, look, Ferrari doing well, Formula One does well. Big fan.
Do you think that it was a slightly safer bet for Ferrari to go on the soft? I 100% agree. He had to get past Norris into that first corner to make that strategy work. Do you think that they were slightly banking on the fact that McLaren would have had a real stern talk the night before saying, you must get to turn 2. Whatever happens from there, it doesn't matter, but you need to get to turn 2 with all of your car still attached to your car. And do you think Ferrari went, the Orange boys are probably going to take it a little bit easier to turn 1, or they're going to have to be risk averse into turn 1? We don't really need to be like that. We don't care. So we can afford to go a bit more aggressive into turn 1 and maybe play on that sort of softness that we might see out of the McLarens.
Yeah, why not? Double down on that. I think that's a completely valid point. I was just looking at some of the numbers as well. I mean, in terms of the Drivers' Championship, they've got nothing really to play for, have they?
No.
I mean, Leclerc's in 5th, Hamilton's in 6th. They're not competing with one another, and they're not competing with 4th place, and they're not competing with 7th place. So there's nothing to go for there. There is a bit of jeopardy with the constructors, though. They are 7 points behind Mercedes, and now only 3 points in ahead of Red Bull. So there's actually going to be a really nice 3-way battle for that second place in the Constructors' Championship, which potentially Ferrari, have they got the most to gain from it? Mercedes are already there. The trajectory that Red Bull are on with Max would lead you to believe that they're probably going to go past at least Ferrari, if not Mercedes as well. So have Ferrari got an opportunity to be a bit reckless with some of these decisions and not necessarily moves, but strategies in order to do something different and upset the apple cart?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they've been, like we said before, very nowhere almost all year. It's not even the Gunther thing of the highs are very high and the lows are very low. Like, the highs are very low and the lows are very high. Like, they have just been, it's the flattest line you've seen all year. They've just sort of been there. So yeah, solid. Why not? And end of year or whatever, stick it out there. I think people are maybe overlooking slightly how much of a constructors battle there is going on 2 through 4. Obviously the actual trophy's gone. That's been well and truly wrapped up. But it's back to, again, like what we had a couple of years ago. Ignore the driver in first, right? Let him go. He's won it. That's fine. 2 to 4 is still valid racing, and there's a hell of a lot to play for. Money and, wind tunnel time is quite big coming into the new era. But the question is, I suppose, would you rather money or sort of competitive advantage? I can't imagine anything going to sandbag for the wind tunnel time, but it's not the worst outcome.
No. Never been in a wind tunnel, but I'd imagine it might be quite fun for people that like wind tunnels.
I think it's probably windy.
Yeah. Do you reckon you'd be able to stand up in a wind tunnel? I don't think you would.
I think you'll hit the back wall quite hard.
Straight into those massive fans.
Yes. Something
out of Final Destination. Have you got any, out of interest, have you got any stationary chat that you'd like to go through this week?
But this should just become a recurring thing on the podcast. Tapegate. We've got Tapegate out of the United States Grand Prix. Who knew that sticky tape could be so expensive to a Formula One team? I know that speed tape runs you plenty dollary dues a roll. Red Bull have been fined €50,000 because one of their mechanics took some tape off a wall, which on its own, you think the hell has gone on there. And then it actually gets a little bit deeper than that, because McLaren put some tape on the wall for Lando Norris's grid box. It's just a visual indicator for him. They are well within their rights to do it. There's no rule that says you can't. There's also no rule that says you can't take the tape off the wall, which is what Red Bull decided to do. And one of their mechanics has decided to peel that tape off. Okay. It's a little bit shithousery, I would say. It's probably all's fair, but I mean, it's a little bit petty, I think. The problem was that he decided to do that by going back onto the grid after they'd set off for the formation lap. And that's a little bit of a no-no in Formula One, because that's how you get splattered. I mean, what are you doing is my first question. Like, I know we're being competitive and there'll be an argument from people of, you know, that's Formula One. It's tiny advantages. Like, why wouldn't you try and get the upper hand on your opposition? I'm not sure it's necessary. And it's definitely not necessary to go back on the grid once they've all set off. Do you think he was told to do it? Do you think it was a team discussed thing beforehand that if anyone, you know, or did they send him back out? You know, has he got the little call in his headset of like, oh, Dave, mate, you just pop out and take that tape off the wall, would you? Like, I don't understand how we get to where we've got to, but they've been fined anyway.
You'd think if it was anything innocent, there wouldn't be a £50,000 fine involved, wouldn't you? You'd think. Well, because the team has been fined there, I think, is the important thing. And I know the team as an overall would be responsible for all of their employees. But if you came up with, and I'm not saying this is the case, and I don't know, because I've been on tapes.co.uk.
Okay.
And you can buy some aluminium foil tape, which I assume is the similar kind of thing. It's like £200 per roll.
Oh, so I think the speed tape's even more than that.
Well, it's expensive shit.
Yes.
Anyway, if he's just gone, oh, lads, I've left my Milky Bar wrapper on the side and I've just seen it. I need to go back and get it quick. And if that's his conversation when he gets sat down in the principal's office at the end of the day because he's been naughty, is that something that you just turn around and go, well, we're going to fine Red Bull for that? And then he has to go back to Red Bull now and goes, I'm so sorry. I was eating a Milky Way on the grid. I left my wrapper on the side. I thought that's what it was. Actually, it turned out it was in my pocket. But what it was this massive piece of sticky tape that said property of McLaren, do not remove. And I took it off thinking it was my Milky Way wrapper. Does he then get sacked by Red Bull for such a, what do you call it? Like a cock up, I suppose, but there's probably a more elaborate and articulate way to describe it. Or surely it's got to be a case of get over there and take that tape off the wall and see if we can piss him off.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the Milky Bars came in. But no, I think it has to be state-sponsored violence, doesn't it? But the 50 grand fine, it's nothing to do with the tape specifically. He could have just walked back out to the grid, done a little dance and come back in again. I think that's still 50 grand. So, and I don't even think in the document there was any reference to any wrongdoing regarding the tape itself. They are real strict with their operations and their timings and what you can and can't do and who has to be where and when. It's very unnecessary, I think, on so many levels. And yes, I say this as a McLaren fan and whatever, but even if it was the other way around, I would be saying the same thing. Like, you've got your box, stay in your box. And they've got their box, stay in their box. And if they decide that they want to put extra markers out there or they want to have a bloke waving you in with the LED light to their pit box, whatever, you don't go and spear tackle him when they're waving someone in for a pit stop. Like, let the other teams do what they do. If they're doing it within the laws, if you like the idea of it, steal it. If you don't like the idea of it, don't do it. I think there will be people that say, oh no, it's Formula One, it's competitive. No, just leave them to it. Like, don't mess with each other.
Yeah, I think you use the word anyway. It's a bit shithousery, isn't it?
Yeah.
It'd be kind of similar to, and they kind of do it with TV broadcast anyway, but say at early testing there was like a Red Bull photographer stood on the exit of turn 7 of whatever track they were using. And you had a McLaren person just kind of going,
yeah,
just leaning in front of the lens the whole time. It'd be kind of similar to that, I suppose. It feels, as you said, the fine was because they breached into, I guess, what you would consider to be a closed zone by the time that's what happened. And that is completely right. And the fact that happened, they should get punished for it. But it just feels very petty.
Yeah, the whole thing's petty. All the process has been followed. I don't think anyone can argue with the outcome.
Unless it was genuine. Unless he just went, oh shit, there's a bit of rubbish on the wall, I better get it. Because that could go in somebody's airbox and that could blow the car up and that might not work particularly well.
I don't think it's genuine because his cars were in front of it. So they were probably hoping
Only
that it
one,
would.
to be fair, because Yuki wouldn't have been in front of anybody.
They don't care about Yuki. Yuki might as well go home at this point.
Did you see that clip actually of Yuki and Max walking into the paddock? Max going through the security gates with his little tag, and Yuki just skirting around the side of it, and literally nobody said anything or stopped him.
Love it.
So the fact
security
that
gates in Formula One.
Max kind of went, "What are you doing?" And Yuki's just gone. So it's almost as if I go, "Well, I do this every week, mate. No one knows who I am."
I'm in. Before we talk about the main event, should we talk about Norris and Leclerc? Because
yeah, that was good eating.
Banging racing, lads. Banging racing. And the fact that it had so many evolutions as well. It was multiple attacks from Norris on Leclerc. Some worked, some didn't. He pulled out a couple of moves. And then the whole having to semi-concede and drop back and cooling the tyres and all the rest of it. I'll say shout out to Will Josephs on the way he coached that. And there will be people, and I've already seen TikToks and stuff, mocking the way that the dynamic that those two have and the way that Lando's race engineer speaks to him. It's like, it obviously works. And if Lando didn't like it, they would have had one team meeting and he would have gone, sweet, not a problem, I won't do that anymore. It's where they've got to. It's a dynamic that's really working. And the gentle coaching of, mate, it's fine, you're quick, drop back, cool your tyres, they'll come back to you, we'll go and get him. Look what happened. It's exactly what he did. Everyone's happy. Well, yeah. Oscar's not happy.
I mean, however that relationship is broadcast and however it's developed and worked, you're never going to put that situation where you put the cart in front of the horse, are you?
No.
The horse is always going to be pulling that cart, the horse being Lando, the cart being Will Joseph. And however that information is passed across or however that relationship is built, whether it's on friendship, whether it's professionalism, however they choose to articulate their points or share their information or whatever, it's going to be so unique and so specific to that particular person that the onus is going to be on the person on the pit wall to be able to adapt to the driver themselves rather than the driver adapting to the pandering or the babying or whatever form of information that you might get. And if it doesn't work, you end up with those brilliant bits of radio messages like you used to get from Kimi Räikkönen, where he used to just tell people to shut up. That's not where it works. This is where it works. It worked brilliantly. The battle was fantastic. Yes, it's a shame that they can't follow one another so closely for a period of time because otherwise the tires melt and everything overheats and things don't work anymore. But actually how it was managed and how it was manipulated and how it eventually kind of came to the end of it was brilliant. And there were 3, 4, 5 moments where you kind of thought this could happen at any time. And as it was, brilliant by Leclerc in terms of defensive driving, brilliant by Norris in terms of the aggressive setup and then final overtake.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it was a really nice advert, actually, for this generation of cars to an extent, because if we go back to the last generation, you're not staying within a second for 10 consecutive laps through those S sections and through a couple of tight hairpins. You're not staying there in the last generation of cars, and he was sticking with him within DRS, not having to drop back and come again. And I almost think it's right that you had a go, you couldn't quite get it done, so you almost have to take a little bit of eat your medicine a little bit to drop back. Okay, I've pushed these tyres hard and I can't just do that non-stop. And no, I thought it was great. Shout out as well, weirdly, to the F1 TV, not direction as such, but shout out to the TV crews. God, the lines from the helicopter camera that trail out of the back of the car, that graphic where you can see the exact lines they've taken, so good. More of that, please. A surprising amount of interesting info, I think, comes from that. Like through the S sections, to see that, Norris and Leclerc taking relatively by F1 standards, drastically different lines. In reality, we're talking half a meter, but a half a meter line difference through, a series of 6 corners in Formula One is quite a bit. Just really cool to see. And when we first saw it on the broadcast, I think it was more prone to being hiccupy than it is now, because it's been around at least all season in various forms. It just seemed to work really well this weekend. And even when one car would drive over the other's line, it was clipping under them, and it was just lovely. Chef's kiss on the lines.
Generally speaking, and I'm not particularly complimentary of these new circuits, but I feel like COTA just ticks all the right boxes. It's generally a very attractive and very absorbing circuit to enjoy Formula or enjoy motorsport in. There are so many incredible opportunities for some really cool camera work. You've got some, I'll use the word kind of semi-natural elevation changes because they've been, they're not, but they are, and that's amazing. You can have those really cool kind of swooping drone shots kind of going down the elevation. You've got all of that cool painted runoff area, which looks incredible when you get aerial about it. Because of those elevation changes, like those massive fuck off flags that they've got look cool as balls because they just have nothing but sky in the background. They've got those incredible man-made elevation changes, like that massive tower where they stick cameras on the top and you can look right the way down. You've got a series of corners where you've got multiple different lines available. Even the straight is undulating down into that kind of final braking zone. It's a very attractive Grand Prix to watch, and from a TV directing perspective, and it's something I've never done, something I've seen a little bit behind the scenes, but it must be one of the ones that you go into and go, I'm going to make this look really cool, because actually so much of it is done for me. And the great thing as well, we saw a lot less girlfriends, wives, aunties, cats, guinea pigs, hamsters, rabbits, influencers, loosely related cousins, friends, team principals, loosely related cousins in the back of the pit garages as what we did compared to what we were complaining about the weekend before. So tick in the right box.
I mean, I have a slightly contrary view that a couple of people argue with me on Reddit about, because the whole girlfriends thing, I think, is massively overblown and actually discredits people's TV direction arguments, because your sort of little run there of the various things we saw that isn't racing was probably not far off the total runtime of all the wives and girlfriends we saw at the Singapore Grand Prix. So it's a small credit to Kim Ilman, the photographer bloke, because he went through the Singapore Grand Prix and he counted up how much time was wives and girlfriends out of that broadcast, and it was 17 seconds out of an hour and 40-minute broadcast. So it's something around 0.25% of the broadcast was showing wives and girlfriends. Now, that's not to say the TV direction is good. There are massive things that need to be improved. I think they were better in some elements this weekend because we did see a lot more down the order racing. There was a lot more picture-in-picture of secondary battles. And although they were focused on the Norris and Leclerc out front battle, they didn't forget the rest of the grid. They had a few hiccups where we were watching like 18 race starts when signs had run into the back of someone and all the rest of it. But I feel like people almost get off track with the race direction thing because I'm not saying that they are an added benefit seeing the wives and girlfriends. I mean, people are, I think, focusing too much on the 0.25% and not the 25% of unnecessary leader coverage when we could be watching a battle down the way. But to your point of bloody good track and bloody pretty track, and I think they were better this weekend with some of the shots they were doing. And they do play around with that elevation. There are a couple of shots like down the straight where you lose the cars for a minute and they hang on that shot. And it sort of goes against everything that should happen with TV coverage of like, you're meant to cut away now because we can't see the cars anymore. So you have to go to another shot. It's like, wait a minute, because here they come over the hill. So yeah, sort of well done. Well done. It's a step in the right direction. Not perfect. Bloody hard though. We've said this a number of times. Like, that's live TV direction is not an easy thing. And if you do have an opportunity, I know Fox Sports have put out some really good stuff about cricket broadcasts, and in that producer's room, go and seek it out, because I think it makes you realise just how much they're juggling and how full on that job is. And that's doing it in cricket, where you know pretty much where you need to be looking, not tracking 20 cricket matches at once.
Agreed. But I'm sure we'll get more opportunity to talk about TV direction between now and the end of the Formula One season. So sure we'll be back, I'm certain, because I'm certain we've got some more things that we'd like to talk about. Maybe that's an off-season thing to discuss as well, breaking down F1 TV direction. Have we moved on to the final part?
I think we're on to the final part.
Fantastic. Well, I'll open it up with a statement or a question, in fact, of, is Max Verstappen about to win his 5th World Drivers' Championship?
I'm still saying no.
He has taken a handful of points out of McLaren this weekend. We've been tracking it over the last, couple of weekends, couple of races, since when he was 70 points behind. People were going, well, he's a genuine contender for the World Championship. Genuine. He could win it. He's right there. And people were going, well, he's got a 50-50 shout. And you and I both sat there and went, no, he doesn't. And we've tracked it and we've worked it out. But it's got a damn sight closer.
It has. And we've had a lot of comments on the video we posted 3 weeks ago saying like, oh, do a new video now. It's down to 40 points. Yes, it's down to 40 points. And yes, it's exciting. But he's only on the rate he needs to be on. And I think that puts it into perspective, and maybe that's a little bit lost from some people, that we said at the time there were 7 races to go and he needed, I think it was 69. He trailed by 69 points with 7 races to
Oscar
go.
Was 69 points.
And it's now been 3 race weekends and he's chopped that lead down by 29 points. So if this is cricket, he's on the required rate, but there's quite a few overs to go still that he needs to stay at that rate. I still don't think he gets there. I think McLaren are absolutely shitting themselves, and I think that has to be reflective in Oscar's performances recently because he has dropped away significantly. The US Grand Prix was the largest gap between the McLarens where they've both finished the race all season, so that says plenty. Because the car wasn't terrible, and I think if Norris is not passed by Leclerc through that first corner, I think him and Max probably actually do race quite a decent 56 laps or whatever it is. I still don't think he gets there, but I would love nothing more as a bloke that has a McLaren Lego car behind me than us going into Abu Dhabi with less than 8 points between them. That would be brilliant. For the sport, I could not ask for anything more. People are getting perhaps a little bit carried away, which is understandable. It's exciting all of a sudden, the T-Rex and the Jeep thing that Crofty came out with, which is wonderful work. The T-Rex is chasing the Jeep quite quickly. It's just maybe 1 or 2 Grand Prix too late, is my balanced take on it.
Yeah, I think it's completely fair and balanced take and opinion on it. We've worked it out, isn't it? It was 10 points per weekend pre-Singapore. It's now 41 points behind Oscar Piastri with 5 weekends to go, which would work it out to be 8.2 points per weekend that he would need to outscore Piastri in order to go past Oscar. And that doesn't take into consideration what the rate would be in terms of Lando if one or the other decided to start doing
Yeah,
things.
this is solely Verstappen v Piastri, isn't it?
Precisely. And what is it? 25 points for a win, 18 points for a second place. So if Max wins every Grand Prix between now and the end of the season, Oscar finishes second every Grand Prix now to the end of the season, it isn't going to be enough. I can see Max Verstappen winning 5 more Grand Prix this season. I can see that happening. I don't necessarily see that being enough to upset the other two, despite the fact they are clearly looking over their shoulder, despite the fact they are obviously worried about it. Probably the biggest question, and this could be another kind of cutaway here, but is it time that McLaren start to favour one of these two drivers in order to ensure that they do come away with the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship this year?
I heard this question posed it might have been Crofty maybe that asked, or it might have been post-race show or something, but someone posed the question. And I think they're too close together to do that, and recent form is not helping that. I don't think... Because if you're going to favour one, you have to favour Oscar Piastri because he is the championship leader. You cannot, objectively or whatever, go, we're going to favour one driver now to secure this and we're going to pick the bloke that's in second. You just can't do that. No matter how much Daddy loves you, you can't do that. So they would have to favour Oscar. Well, Oscar was, as I just said, 22 seconds behind in this Grand Prix and looked nowhere all weekend, start to finish. Had some bad barbecue or something on the Thursday because he was miles off. So you just can't do it. Whether it would be the right thing to do, okay, sure, there's questions to be asked there, I think. I just think in the real world, you can't do it with the way they are.
Yeah.
If Lando was 4th even, I think it's an easier question because he doesn't have a legitimate chance, which he does have a legitimate chance at being the World Drivers' Champion this year. It's quite a refreshed chance. So, no, I don't think they can. I don't know if it would really make it might even make it worse trying to do that and trying to game the system. Like, how about we just both be quick and just sort of let it happen? I think probably saves them. There was a little bit of chat when we did this last time that people think we're forgetting the sprints. We're not forgetting the sprints. The points in the sprints are just so inconsequential unless both drivers crash into each other and don't finish, which we can't factor into this because that is such an outlier that shouldn't happen. But Verstappen finishing first and Piastri finishing third in a sprint is a 2-point swing. It's not worth sort of factoring in yet. But yeah, and look, it's bloody good. This is great. For such a one-horse Constructors' Championship and for how low of a pit Red Bull were in, it's great to see that resurgence coming through, and it's exciting that there's so much jeopardy on every situation now, and we're back to every point mattering. So, yeah, it's interesting. Here's a question for you then. I'll flip one back at you in relation to all this. Did McLaren pull the pin too early on stopping car development once they thought they'd had the constructors sewn up? Because they've come out and said they pulled the pin on this year's car development. And I think that's obviously, Red Bull have done a lot of work, McLaren have done no work, and that's why they've caught up so much. Did they pull the pin too early? And how much would they come to regret that if, in the unlikely event that Verstappen pulls this off, do they care that much? They've won the one that gives them all the money as a team. How much do they care about those personal accolades?
It's a question you wouldn't be able to answer until you get to the end of the season, will you? Did they pull it too early? Should they have waited another week or so? Who knows? How much will they care? When was the last time a McLaren driver won a world championship? Was it 2008 with Lewis Hamilton? I think it must have been, wasn't it?
I'll back you on it.
Without kind of
it wasn't Daniel Ricciardo.
No. And
it wasn't Carlos Sainz.
I'm certain it was that. So I think they'd be quite keen to get hold of that title, that trophy to add in there. And I mean, the way that they're a team that really go hard on their socials as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that would be huge marketing communications opportunity for that Formula One team to do the double, to be the first World Drivers' Championship for either of them. I mean, they've got horses in both races there, haven't they? With them, it's not a case of one's going to win their second, and it's like meh. Either one is going to win their first. It's going to be their first since then. It's going to be the first Australian since what? Alan Jones?
I'm not the man to ask.
Is there another? Yeah, possibly that far back.
It's not Daniel Ricciardo.
No, nor is it Mark Webber. So there are some really cool kind of stories there available for McLaren to get hold of. So I think they'll be desperate to get it, and I think if it doesn't work out in the unlikely event, because there's still very little doubt in my mind that one of the two of them will win the Grand Prix or win the Drivers' Championship. Because the thing is if it goes Max's way for another 2 Grand Prix, you look at that on that rate, it's gone down 1.8 over the last 2 Grand Prix. So it goes down another 1.8. You're down at 6.6 points per race with 3 to go. That's still a massive number. And you think sooner or later, McLaren are going to get something right,
yes,
aren't they? They're going to get near enough. They're going to make sure that that's going to be, or there's going to be a sprint race, and it's going to be a case of, well, those inconsequential 3 points here or there actually suddenly turns 6.6 back into 6.8 points per race or 6.9 points per race. And the reality of the situation is, and the closer and closer you get to the end of it, the more and more that Verstappen is going to need to take chunks out of it. Do McLaren run the risk of falling over one another? Potentially, they might need to think about who they want to work with. If things get to, say, 2 races to go, then maybe that's a different conversation. But at the moment, it's still very much McLaren's to lose. And but I completely echo your thoughts in the sense that this is just good. It's good to talk about. It's good to watch. It's good to enjoy. There's jeopardy involved. There's actual consequence to decisions and moves and challenges and things, and that's great.
Yeah. I think one thing that's possibly ever so slightly overlooked. I think the people that are really tuned into it, and potentially more from the McLaren side than others, but McLaren have been quite open with the fact that they didn't expect to do particularly well over the last few Grand Prix. These are not circuits that they expected the car to be good at. They said coming into this weekend that they didn't think that they're going to have a rocket ship of a car around COTA. Mexico should suit them better. Brazil should suit them better. Qatar should suit them better. I think Vegas could well be a Red Bull kind of circuit, which could make things quite interesting. But they've sort of dropped points probably in the places they expected to drop points. I think Mexico will be incredibly telling. And for all the people that say, put another video out now, yes, we will. That's how the podcast works. We're going to put a video out every week, and we've never necessarily died on a hill of an opinion. It's a very strong opinion still, and I'm going to ask you a question in a second that I'll be curious to get your answer to that will sort of put the full stop on it, I suppose. But that's why this is so good, is it is evolving. And at no point was both McLarens breaking the front of their car on each other in a sprint race factored into the calculations. That's why the calculations are fun. That's why all of this is so engaging.
Yeah.
Right, yes, I have a question. Just to put a little wrapper on all this. We've done plenty of maths in this, so I'm going to ask for some more numbers-based maths from you. Break it down with percentages. Piastri, Norris, Verstappen. Percentage chances to win, please.
I'd say Oscar, 75%.
Mm-hmm.
Lando, 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And Max, maybe even less. Maybe Lando 23% and Max 2%.
Whew. Okay, so you're. I think you're actually now going harder than me the other way, and I'm the McLaren fan.
Well, the thing is as I say, it's 8.2 points per race for Max.
Yeah.
Lando himself is 15 points behind Oscar Piastri, which means he's going to need to outscore him by over 3 points per race in order to get there. And that isn't easy either, particularly if you're talking about third and fourths and fifths and sprint races and stuff like that. That's going to take time. So, yeah, there's my logic.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm going, based on recent form, I'm now giving Oscar Piastri 50% of the vote.
Ooh.
And I'm giving Lando 30% of the vote, and I'm giving Max 20% of the vote.
20.
And I'm doing that based on your eyes in, right? But I would say I'm doing that with he's got his eye in, but also with a little asterisk that I think there's a great chance that, and we use a lot of cricket references on this, one good over at a T20 and Wasp swings violently the other way. So I'm going more the Wasp logic at the minute of Wasp likes a big swing based on an event. And the United States Grand Prix was quite a big swing event that has pulled the Boffins back into a little bit of interest, but I think it could be short-lived. And I will say now, I think there's a great chance that I've probably rebounded with my Wasp back to like 65 on Oscar next week, and sort of thrown him right back up there into like a 65-25,
right,
type thing. And it's probably going to keep changing quite aggressively.
We'll run with it. Can we just wrap up on the most important World Championship going on?
Certainly we can.
So those of you that have managed to listen through 48 minutes, I'm probably sure that you're very aware of the Random World Drivers' Championship that you and I have been competing in since Australia this year, based on a Spin the Wheel website, occasionally some ChatGPT, and then just a whole host of luck. And you had a good weekend. You had a Wasp weekend. You picked up 19 points from Charles Leclerc. Surprisingly, I got 8 from Yuki Tsunoda, which was genuinely a surprise for, I think, everybody, including Yuki himself.
Small shout out, actually, to Yuki. He had some stinkers, but he did clean up after himself.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him. So, the points are 210 points to myself, 202 points to you, 8 points between us. So this is the championship battle that people should be talking about. We don't need 8.2 points per weekend. We need considerably less than that. We need about 1.8 points per weekend to get through, which I think is highly likely.
It's a bit exciting, this, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
It's a little bit exciting. What I can't wait for, I need to learn how to use like After Effects again, because what I want come the end of the season, when one of us has been crowned a winner, I want one of those animated lines where like our scores like intersect and they move. I want to visualize the data because this could be good come the end of it.
It's been good. It's been good eating.
Right. It's happening.
Magic. Where can they find you on the internet?
Twitch.tv/Hey Look It's Alex. I'm building a theme park at the minute in Parkitect. I'm also going to play a little bit more Formula 125 on the wheel. Thanks to Logitech for sending me that wheel, and also Turtle Beach for sending me their wheel, and Playseat for sending me a seat. I've got stuff. And where are they finding you, Dan?
If you want to find Dan Jads on the internet, you can find me there, and you can talk about cricket stuff, which is good. Maybe I need to start diversifying the portfolio a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see what goes on. Anyway, I'll tune into your World Championship, see how you're getting on. It's hopefully more exciting than the one that we've got going on at the minute. Hopefully you need only 3 points per weekend. But
we'll see.
Hey, good luck. See you at the end of the week, actually, because we've got Mexico.
End of the week, we're Mexico. I go straight into Mexico. No wait.
Go on, Mexico.